There's a great deal of discussion going on about the matter of Thunderfoot and Laughing Witch. If you don't know about that story, I placed a link to Thunderfoot's comprehensive explanation in the low bar. Recently, Skep Torr, a highly respected commentator on this side of the divide between sane people and SJWs, posted a video expressing his objections to those who went after Laughing Witch on Yelp and at her company. As always, he was logical and articulate about his views. Unfortunately, he was dead wrong in his conclusions. His video deserves a lot more than snarky condemnation from me or anyone else. So allow me to take the thrust of his ideas and to point to why he's mistaken. His contention, generally speaking, is that regardless of what SJWs do, we must not respond in kind when it comes to making this personal in a real-life way. While I agree that threats of violence toward anyone are inappropriate and to be roundly condemned, the attitude that we must conduct ourselves with one hand tied behind our backs is precisely why these sociopathic SJWs have generally proceeded with impunity to bring harm to the likes of Matt Taylor, Stephen A. Smith, and a very long list of other people. For decades now, dating back to Aaron Pizzey and Neil Linden, feminist ideologues have sought to harass and destroy those who disagree with them on very personal levels. Indeed, it extends far past that to E. Belfort Bax, who 100 years ago wrote eloquently on the massive holes in feminist logic and was taunted and attacked personally for the rest of his life for doing so. SJWs and their ilk repeat these actions because there are no consequences. Skep Torr's idea that we continue along these lines is precisely the prescription for more innocent people to be destroyed, while people on blogs and YouTube pontificate about taking the higher ground, as though they are actually in touch with the real suffering that is going on out there. The fact is that this is a cultural war, and that is much more than a metaphor. We have thousands of people, mostly men, who do not have the benefit of loyal audiences willing to take action on their behalf. They languish in prisons, suffer the loss of their investment in education, have their reputations and lives destroyed over similar and worse false allegations that were leveled at Dr. Mason by Laughing Witch. This continues as a cultural norm because the agents of harm suffer no consequences. Skep Torr reasonably brings up the fact that personal retaliation is not and can't be surgical. No one can be assured that innocents like family members, children, employees, and associates won't be harmed if the victims of SJWs seek personal retribution in forms similar to what happened to Laughing Witch. Correction. In forms similar to what Laughing Witch invited into her own life and into the lives of those around her. It is a messy business, no doubt, but we are ill-advised to refrain from delivering justice over it. The simple, reasonable solution to protect the innocents harmed in Laughing Witch's life would have been for Laughing Witch to not launch a shameful, underhanded attack on Dr. Mason. She could have prevented all of this, and she chose the hubristic route of placing everyone around her at risk in order to carry out a clearly evil agenda. I expressed my support for what happened to her on Twitter. I also asserted that I hope more of this happens in the future. In fact, I do not mind saying right now that I think it should become a trend. I hope it becomes a trend. It is not that I want to see people harmed. I do, however, want to see people learn. In this case, we live in a society that needs a collective understanding that if you go after people's personal livelihood, their public reputation with lies and false allegations designed to ruin them, that you will have a lot of people who will not take Skep Torr's high, safe road to constant vulnerability and inaction. I think a good measure of fear and anxiety, not giggles and smugness broadcast on YouTube, would pair much better with their actions. That really should serve as an instruction. While Laughing Witch is obviously not playing with a completely full deck, she was conscious enough of the current zeitgeist that she smugly broadcast herself in action, revealing her identity, and was then shocked that retribution followed. That shock was to be expected. The average SJW launching these kinds of attacks has no reason whatsoever to think they will get so much as a scratch, while they swing a wrecking ball through the lives of unassuming, innocent people. If you want moral high ground, there's a lot of it to be had around these people. Unlike Skep Torr, though, I think that ground includes plenty of room for punishing the offender. That is not sinking to their level. It is delivering the only justice they will ever see in a world that tends to shield them like they had diplomatic immunity. I won't be a part of that. With all respect to Skep Torr, whose work I support and will continue to support on Patreon, he is just wrong on this one. The only way to deal with bullies is to bloody their nose, good and proper. It is a lesson we all learn in childhood because it's true. All bullies are cowards, and all SJWs are bullies. It is time we dealt with them like that, even as unpleasant as it may be.